Well, thanks for checking back with us here at WAOC this week. I'm Marty T. Hawkins, and I hope everyone's having a great one. I'm not sure exactly what all we're going to end up talking about today. I want to talk about the slip sheet and clamp trucks for sure, and I got a few more bullet points in front of me, but I wanted to share a real quick story I got this week. So here's kind of the scenario. An order selector shared, so I decided to give all that planning and goal stuff a shot. In December, I decided to write out what I wanted to do in 2019. In January, I started speaking up at my startup meetings. I used a few of those topics I heard on your podcast, and I quit talking in the aisles and really focused on every batch now. I'm pulling 60 more cases an hour, and I have not had a misship this entire month, and only one short, which I'm sure the driver just didn't deliver. I'm making a little over $2 an hour more so far this month with my incentives. I'm going to be listening all year. You know, I love hearing good success stories. I've reached out to a few listeners that's working their plans, and I hope to maybe even have one or two of them join us for an episode. If you have or know of a successful goal and plan coming together, shoot us an email to host@warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com so I can share it with all the others. Okay, let's see, the slip sheet and clamp attachments. You know, we've spoken about the slip sheet before. Our friend Lavoie, quite the professional operator, shared his expertise with us back in episode, I think it was 56. So let's talk about the clamp truck a little bit this week. I'll be sure to include 2 resource articles in today's show notes in case you'd like to check them out. One of them was from ToyotaForklift.com, and the other one was from, RaymondHandling.com. I learned to operate the clamp on an old Hyster myself, unloading washers and dryers from rail cars. You know, I love that job. Now, back then, we didn't have automatic adjustments and pretty much had to work with our maintenance men to adjust any pressures. It wasn't difficult, but we could only adjust the squeeze, or I think our maintenance guy called it capture pressure, by only a few pounds on my particular lift. But you know what? That worked out just fine because my lift pretty much only moved washers and dryers all day long. More and more companies are using the slip sheets or clamp trucks now for their productivity. In many instances, you can remove the manual unloading step within a floor load by driving into the trailer, clamping the load, bringing it out, and placing it on a pallet. And that was really the tricky part for me with the washers and dryers. I'd place them on a custom pallet. They would hold 2 side by side, and then I'd pick up the pallet with a clamp and move it over to a staging area for the forklift to haul it over to the aisles. Anyway, so on a clamp truck, your hydraulic controls operate the squeeze of your clamps. I've seen some attachments use the side shift system to be used for the clamp pressure. In many instances, you're going to be using a set-down or stand-up lift that's got an attachment put on it. That's something that your maintenance department has installed, probably on an older lift maybe. Now there's some really nice and fancy units out there, and they're great in a high-volume facility that's primarily using clamps, but I've only experienced their use as an additional tool or a unit, maybe being used like 20% of the day myself. And you know, the paper industry, now they've got some high-tech machines. You can lift those huge round rolls, rotate them 180 degrees, and store them on top of each other with those units. A lot of them are all digital and actually programmed for the item and the weight that you're going to carry your lift. I've worked around carton clamps mostly, and they're really the most versatile of all clamps. A few of the others commonly used are the fork clamp, and it's really best for those awkward loads. It lets the operator position the forks to clamp onto the product, really helping with wear and tear on those pallets. Then you have the bell clamp. You can pick up any type of bell with those units. Let's see what else. Oh, the drum clamp. You'll see the drum clamp in petroleum and chemical industries, you know, like moving 55-gallon drums around. And today, there's several different clamp force controls or different systems that you might be using. Now, I've not personally driven any of these new units. However, after learning about them today, I can't wait to run into one out there in the field next week. In today's world, we have the 3-position pressure regulators. As the name implies, the driver has an adjustment in the cab, usually within reach with 3 programmed settings. They're really great, when there's not a lot of variety that we're going to be lifting. Next is the hydraulic force control. HFC is a hydraulically controlled automatic force system that will it kind of adjusts the clamp force proportionately to the weight of our loads. This system is really cool because it requires no input from the operator, as it works solely on its own to apply the correct pressure to each load. Another one I read about, and I found all 3 of these in that Toyota article, is the adaptive force control. Now it's kind of like the HFC. It automatically sets the pressure, but they're primarily used in roll paper attachments. And you'll probably see these regulators on the more advanced systems, one used in computer programs, and they can actually be adjusted right from a laptop or a desktop computer. Pretty high tech, huh? I'm asked all the time if it's hard to learn to operate the slip sheet or the clamp truck. It's really just a forklift. And as we've learned, experience is how we learn to drive a forklift. I myself think that safety means being a forklift driver. If we're always focused on our environment, aware of our surroundings, and have been trained to the piece of equipment that we're driving, I think any safe lift driver can learn the clamp and the slip sheet attachment pretty easily. The key is to go low and slow. Take your time. And again, I'll throw in my operate it safety slogan. Oh, one more thing about a slip sheet blade and your clamp blades. Let's treat them right. Don't bend them up or scrape them. And please don't use them improperly. Those things are expensive to replace, and you'll end up damaging your freight if they're not true in any way. Check them out on both your pre-trip and post-trip reports. It'll keep everybody safe. More and more fork units have our scanning equipment actually mounted on our lifts now. I saw a couple the other day that were bolted to the headache bars or, the overhead grate of the lifts. Those are really cool, kind of out of the way, and definitely easier to use than our handheld units. But I noticed because different operators are different heights, they can be in our ways or kind of in our line of sight. Be sure that you're comfortable and can see well, though. Let your maintenance department know if it needs to be moved a little to the right or the left or maybe up or down. Be comfortable. I guarantee you'll be more productive. If you're presently driving a slip sheet or a clamp truck, give us a holler at host@warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com. Tell us a little about your experiences. And remember to check in with us throughout the week on Facebook and Twitter too, using that little @ WHSEANDOPS. I'm learning a lot from everyone on the Warehouse and Equipment Operators community page on Facebook too. Well, until next week, be productive, be prosperous, and please be safe doing it.